Hello and welcome. In case you haven't noticed, powered aircraft and helicopters make a lot of noise. The engines of propeller aircraft are not muffled, unlike cars. This does save weight and improves the efficiency of the engines, but comes at the expense of noise. Propellers also generate a lot of noise, especially when the speed at the propeller tips is approaching the speed of sound. Then there are noisy jet aircraft. If you have ever used a leaf or snowblower, you will know that moving air is a noisy business. A jet engine is just like a big sophisticated leaf blower. The greater the volume of air sucked in and the faster it is blown out the other end, the noisier it is. Noise is not such a problem when you're flying at 30,000 feet, but when jet aircraft taxi, take off and land, it is a big problem for the neighbours. To be convenient, airports are sited close to cities. In this world, we don't care for pollution, be it plastics pollution, light pollution, or noise pollution. All three degrade the human condition. Noise pollution was a real issue when the Concorde jet came into service, as BOAC and Air France were denied access to the lucrative North American routes due to the excessive noise the supersonic Concorde made. In December 1970, the US Senate voted to prohibit commercial supersonic flights over the US and to restrict noise levels at US airports. BOAC and Air France were flying supersonic over sparsely populated regions such as the deserts of Africa, Saudi Arabia, and Australia, as well as the oceans. Restricting supersonic flight over oceans or deserts meant that when Concorde entered service in January 1976, the only routes it flew were London-Bahrain, Paris-Rio, and Paris-Caracas. Despite the ban, in May 1976, flights were allowed into Washington Dulles International Airport. 9 months later, a Supreme Court ruling allowed flights into JFK Airport. The modern discipline of aeroacoustics originated with British professor James Lighthill's first publications in the early 1950s, when noise generation associated with a jet engine was beginning to be placed under scientific scrutiny. This scrutiny was named aeroacoustics, which describes aerodynamics where a very small amount of turbulent energy is converted into noise. This field is a rich area for research. Another researcher at that time was engineer British Professor Lilley, who was a visionary in his own work and who mentored many inspired students such as researcher Dr. Geoffrey Lilley. Lilley became known as the father of aeroacoustics, and he played a key role in the development of Concorde. Geoffrey Lilley was born in 1919. In 1934, Geoffrey Lilley joined the RAF as an aircraft apprentice. His poor eyesight meant that he would never train as aircrew, so when he was 21, he joined Vickers-Armstrong at Weybridge and Supermarine in Southampton, where he worked briefly with Sir Barnes Wallis. His work covered both aircraft design and high-speed bombs. During World War II, in his spare time, he served in the Home Guard and took evening classes to study for his Bachelor of Science. He would have been amongst the first humans who heard the first sonic booms as the German V-2 rockets plunged earthwards. After the war, Lilley worked on the design of wind tunnels for commercial research, one of which remains in use by British Aerospace. Lilley helped found the College of Aeronautics in Cranfield in 1946, and his work on aircraft research led to him being appointed Professor of Experimental Fluid Mechanics in 1961. In 1963, Lilley was appointed Professor of Aerodynamics and Aeronautics at Southampton University. After his retirement in 1983, he worked for NASA at the Institute for Computer Applications in Science and Engineering. Geoffrey and Associates held 6 patents, including a device for jet noise reduction. The chevrons or corrugated or serrated noise reduction nozzles are still in use today. He and James Lighthill clashed in 1952, a sign that there was still work to be agreed upon. In 1953, Lilley developed the first definitive study of the supersonic bang. Shocks travelling at the speed of sound can sometimes cause acoustic fatigue on parts of the aircraft exposed to it. Lilley was a member of the Supersonic Transport Aircraft Committee, which was set up to explore economic supersonic transports in 1956. This was the genesis for Concorde. In 1965, Sir Stanley Hooker of Rolls-Royce asked Geoffrey for help in quietening their engines. The first experimental high-bypass turbofan engine had been built a year earlier by Avro-Lycoming, demonstrating that lower speed exhaust jets were quieter. Lilley and Hooker had no engineering solutions, but did suggest changes to the way jet aircraft operated near airports. This was the noise abatement procedures with which we are familiar today. Geoffrey negotiated with the New York Port Authority proposing noise abatement methods. The ban on Concorde's flights to the USA were lifted. Threat of sanctions at Heathrow Airport might have influenced the Americans. In 1980, Geoffrey was asked how to improve the Sea Harrier's limited range and weapon load. The solution? The ski jump ramp on the flight deck. James Lighthill passed away in 1998 and Geoffrey Lilley passed away in 2015. The challenge has been passed to the next generation. Thank you for watching.